Hey guys, I just want to talk to you all briefly about my experience with COMLEX Level 1. As the title of the video says, I didn't pass the first time, and I just wanted to talk briefly about my experiences and how I kind of overcame that struggle of trying to take it again and passing. So I attend a DO school in America, and we had about 4 weeks of dedicated period to study. I was using UWorld, First Aid, Pathoma, and Sketchy Micro, Sketchy Farm. Um, I took a ComBank exam in May. We finished second year early May, just for a baseline, and took that in the beginning of May, and then also took a ComSay near, I think it was a week before my exam to kind of gauge where I was. Um, I had 4 weeks of dedicated, and during that study period, I was also studying for Step 1, the USMLE Step 1. I ended up not taking it. My NBMEs just weren't high enough. And I just want to say that if you're not scoring high in your NBMEs, consider not taking the exam. It's not worth failing it as a DO student and then having that on your record. And then, for me, had I taken it and failed both, that would have been even worse than just failing the first time. So about 2 weeks after my dedicated had started, I decided that I wasn't taking STEP. So I quit doing UWorld questions. And I think that was a mistake. I should have finished it. I finished about half the question bank and switched over to ComBank. I was worried that I wasn't doing enough osteopathic specific questions. But looking back on it, I think I should have finished UWorld because it forces you to know a question 2 or 3 steps further than you think that you would have needed to know it. And even if it's a first order question on the COMLEX, well, if they ask you a second or third or fourth order question, you're ready to go. And that's not only helpful for the exam, but that's helpful for your patients in the future. And so that's something that I wish I had finished the first time around. As far as Pathoma, I don't know if I thought it was incredibly helpful, or I didn't look at anything on Pathoma and said, wow, that question was I got that right because of Pathoma. But I do think it was very helpful in building a base for pathology knowledge, and then you can build on that through UWorld questions. So I would definitely recommend UWorld and Pathoma, First Aid, and Sketchy Micro and Farm. So I took the exam, went in. I think one of my biggest mistakes on test day was I didn't eat enough food. I wasn't prepared for how long it was. I knew it was a 9-hour exam or 8 hours, but you'd be there 9 hours total. And I didn't eat in between some of my breaks, and that really hurt me, especially towards the end of the day where, you do your first 2 hours, you get a 10-minute break, and I didn't eat in the afternoon in between that 10-minute break. And I think that hurt me because I was so worn out those last 2 hours. I had nothing left in the tank. And it was just really hard for me to focus and concentrate. And I feel like I probably missed a lot of questions that I knew the answer to, but I was so tired that I just forgot or couldn't, it was right there on the tip of your tongue and you just couldn't get the correct answer. So I would definitely recommend you need to eat on every break. One of my friends told me, you're not eating for now, you're eating for later. So even if you're not hungry, have a protein bar, have a Gatorade, have something with electrolytes, try and avoid a lot of carbs, don't have any turkey or tryptophan or anything that's going to make you feel sleepy in the afternoon, and go in there and crush it. When I found out that that I failed my exam, I was just obviously crushed and hurt and sad, and I cried, and I had to call my mom and dad and everyone. It was just a big deal, and I ended up missing my first rotation, or I guess it'd be first two. My first rotation was internal medicine, and it was just an 8-week rotation. So I missed the first 2 months. I was devastated, and I wasn't sure what to do. I did call the school and ask for help, and I would definitely say you need to have someone who is also going through this with you so that you can lean on them and they can lean on you. I called the school and told them that I wanted someone to talk to. They said that they couldn't tell me who failed and who didn't. But I gave them permission to put my name out there and say, hey, if anyone has failed and wants a friend, call me, text me, whatever. Actually, one of the guys that I knew rather well, text me, was also in the same boat. So it was great for me to wake up in the morning and say, hey, let's get started. We can do this. Or if I didn't feel like getting up, they could text me like, let's go. We can do it today. And it's really good to have that back and forth with someone to help push you. It helped hold me accountable. The next thing I did was I made sure that I talked to as many people as I could who did very well in the exam, who were top 10 in our class. Because I was always an average student. I never remediated. I never failed anything. So this was the first time I'd really run into a roadblock since starting med school. So I talked to them, took their advice. I looked at what they were doing and what I did, and then everything that I didn't do or that they did that I didn't do, I did that. And I talked to them about, hey, here's what I was thinking about doing. If they're like, look, I probably wouldn't do that, well, then you need to really give that some consideration, because there's a reason that they're on rotations and you're not, right? They may be smarter than you. They may, have better grades, whatever, but everyone still studies. Everyone still has to study the same resources, the same information. So maybe they can help you figure out a new way to look at things. And that's what I did. So I ended up doing UWorld again. And I think I got through 80-something% of it, because I only had 3 weeks to study the next time. I was doing 100 or so questions per day. I was getting up at 5 in the morning. I would get up at 5, drive over to my parents' house, and it was just nice to get out of my apartment. I didn't want to study in my apartment and then also sleep there. I felt like I would just be like the walls were kind of closing in on me. So it was good to go somewhere, go to a library, somewhere with a big window, or somewhere where you don't just feel like you're suffocating in this room with no windows, no air, no nothing. So I did that. I was getting up, doing questions from 6 a.m. to about noon. So 100, 120 questions of UWorld a day. And that's like, do the questions and then also review them in the morning. So that way, even if you're worn out in the afternoon, okay, well, you can watch some videos or you can do some other things. And while I was doing UWorld, I was writing 1 or 2 sentences on every question that I missed or guessed on. I'd write it down in a notebook so that evening I could go home, I'm worn out. Well, let me just flip through these missed questions. And it's literally 1 or 2 sentences, like, here's this, here's why you missed it. Perfect. Well, now I've seen that question again 2 times today. And I did that for 3 weeks. So you go through this notebook over and over and over and over, and you miss a ton of questions, but you see it and you start to remember it, and that's what's important. So it kind of sucks, but that's just one of the things you have to do. I think I ended up doing just under 3,000 questions during my retake period. And doing active learning, I think, was one of my biggest mistakes. Is I was watching a lot of Boards and Beyond videos, which is very helpful, but not necessarily during dedicated, because it was just a lot of videos on a white screen. And then you would ask me a question, and I might know a little bit about the topic, but I didn't know it deep enough, or I couldn't remember the video, or you can ask me a question a different way than I learned it in that video, and I get it wrong, even though I could tell you everything about it. So doing active learning with all the questions, I think, was one of my biggest issues. So be active. Don't just sit and watch videos all day. I don't think that's going to help you. Watching Sketchy Micro, Sketchy Farm, yes, helpful, but I was also taking notes. The second time around, I was taking notes on those videos with the Sketchy Farm notebook. So that way at nighttime, I could just flip through the notebook, say, here's a photo, here's the drugs that it's talking about, here are some of the key points. And that really helped me get a lot of free points on the exam. It's funny how easy things seem once you know them, right? And if you've seen them 20, 30 times this week, well, you're just on the exam, you're like, man, this exam's so much easier. So a lot of passive learning is not good. And I think that's what I was doing the first time. So I would just encourage you to be active in your learning. Make sure you're doing questions. You can still watch videos, but don't spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day watching videos. You're not going to help yourself out unless you can just remember all of that, or you have a photographic memory and you can remember those slides. I think the best way to go about it is questions. And so lastly, during all of that, I was sad. I've never been depressed before, but I was definitely going that way. And I ended up talking to a counselor, and I think that really helped me just to talk to someone who wasn't involved with the school, no one who has a medicine relationship, someone who were just like, hey, tell me about you. Let's hear what's going on. And that really helped me a lot when I was struggling. I remember I was crying 2 or 3 times a week just out of nowhere. I'm sitting there eating breakfast and I'm crying in my milk for no reason, and it's tough and it's scary. And you're like, how can I overcome this? How can I do this? Why is everyone else successful but not me? And that's not the truth. you're also successful. You've made it to this point. So you can overcome this. It's just we need to retool how you think and how you're doing these things, and we need to do it now. So you got to be ready to put in a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice again, right? Don't worry about social media. Don't worry about your buddies doing rotations, posting pictures. Like you're gonna get there. You just have to get it done. And so I went in, retook the test, made sure that I had a lot of food, a lot of electrolytes during the exam. Came out. I felt like I failed the exam the second time when I came out, and I ended up scoring 100 points higher than I did the first time, right? And it had only been 3 weeks. It wasn't like I was that much smarter than the first time that I took it. I'm sure there was a nice curve. That's great. But I also put in the work. I put in the time, the effort. I did a ton of questions, and I got on the exam. And even if I didn't think that I knew the answer or wasn't sure, I knew for sure that I could eliminate 2 or 3 answers because I had studied so many questions and seen so many different things that were random at the time. Well, hey, I know what this is now, and I can knock this out as an answer choice because I saw it in my question bank, or that's one of the questions that I missed in UWorld, and I wrote it down. I read it 10 times. So go in there with a lot of confidence, be ready to go, and remember, you don't have to get every question right. Even if you're scoring a 55% on the COMLEX, you've missed 200 questions, or you missed just under 200 questions, right? So if you sit down and you miss 175, 180 questions, that's going to feel bad no matter what. But that's also probably going to help you or make you pass the exam, right? People say you need over a 50. So, just for math's sake, if you go in there and you get 240, 230 questions right, congratulations. But that still feels terrible because you missed so many questions. So remember, you can miss questions. It's okay. It's the point of an exam. No, you're not going to get a perfect score. But if you have any questions or concerns, or you want to talk to me more about what I did, please leave a comment, email me. I just wanted to talk about COMLEX. I hadn't seen a video about COMLEX specific, anyone who had taken the COMLEX and not passed it. So I just wanted to reach out to anyone who's also in that boat and, just wanted to talk to somebody. So good luck on the exam, study hard, and you can do it.